So hello and welcome to episode 3 of Rebel City Podcast.
All right, mate.
How's it going, Matt?
No bad, man. Yourself?
Not too bad, buddy. Just going to try something new with a Skype call, bringing in a guest that she's in Nottingham. It's Ieva. How's it going?
Hi, I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Not too bad.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, technical problems and all that. So Ieva, you've wrote a book, How to Get Laid Now, and it's basically like to me, after I read the book, found it really interesting. It came across to me really as like a more common sense guide to communicating to people rather than an actual book that gave you tips on how to pick up women. So, just tell us a bit about the book and why you wrote it.
So, you say common sense, but it's not so common to some people. So that's why some people need a reminder. So I wrote the book because I see a lot of men struggling with dating. I see how they have great things going on in their lives, but they don't know how to present themselves, how to interact with a woman, how to treat a woman, how to make sure she's not in a friend zone and things like that. So I wrote a book to help a man. And if you read the book, then you will see that it's not just about dating, but if you follow all the steps that I suggest, and if you actually take action, it will improve not just at your dating life, but your life in general. And I know if a single man or any man reads that book, he will be able to live a better life, like a man of high value.
And that was definitely one of my takeaways from reading the book, was that I went into it expecting dating tips and various other things like that, but I actually come away with it feeling like it was more a general life outlook and how you can feel better about yourself in general, and as a result maybe attract someone that you have that value for.
Because the way I see it is very often when you are somewhere behind in your life, in certain parts of your life, let's say relationships, usually that also affects your career, your business. It's not always the case, but I think very often it is. So if you let's say able to become more confident, then you will also go for other things in your life, or other dreams, other goals in your life, not just women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And was there something, like a specific incident that inspired the book, or was it just your general life experience that you felt you could share?
I meet a lot of lonely people, so I think that, and I've been on a lot of bad dates. And I have friends, male friends, and I would say, I've been on this date with this guy, and he's really great guy. And we just went for a coffee and he had his hands shaking. So what would happen if he was in bedroom with me, Because just like, why? It's just a coffee date. Why do you have to put so much pressure on yourself?
Where do you think this lack of confidence comes from? In men, because it seems to be something that's quite, well, I don't know, but for me it seems something quite unique for right now. I don't think that it's something that we've really focused on that much in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that this is part and parcel with the sort of social media age? Do you think it's caused it in a way, like a lack of confidence in men?
I think it has, because, you compare yourself with everyone, and you're scrolling through Instagram and you compare yourself with someone's photoshopped pictures and someone's highlights, and you're like, oh, my life is not like that. And then another thing is just, I think because we are exposed to so many things, then we start being really hard on ourselves, thinking that, oh, I can't live my life like that. And it all comes to self-worth. So, and this need to be liked by everyone. So I see this, if you're going on a date and you're like, oh, I really want this person to like me, But why would you even want that person to like you if you don't know her? Why would you want a stranger to like you? Find out about that person, see if you can vibe together. Maybe, she is very pretty, but she's a nasty girl. And why would you even want to impress someone that you don't know? So, yeah, I think it's a very interesting concept, because if you want to impress every single person that you meet, it's going to take so much energy, and then you're trying to pretend to be someone that you are not. And when you do that, you end up attracting the wrong person. So, let's say you go on a date and you say, oh, I live this exciting life, I go out every weekend, but actually stay at home. And this girl that you just met, she's looking for someone that prefers to stay at home on the night out instead of having a night out. So then you're not going to have that second date. But if you were honest and you told her who you really are, then maybe, this could have gone somewhere else. So it's all about this, trying to be someone that you're not and trying so hard.
Do you think that comes, what you'd said a bit there about the sort of the projected lifestyle that social media does? So, like you were saying, we only see people's best bits. Do you think that causes an element of intimidation in people to live up to that expectation? So perhaps the reason that they don't share themselves honestly and be vulnerable is part of the sort of judgment that they see online, that they see in the comment section. It sort of reaffirms to people that these negative thoughts are right, and perhaps that they can't live up to this sort of life, so that then causes them either to not try, which we see in the sort of incel type men that are declaring themselves celibate, or they try too hard and they lie and they make themselves out to be somebody that they're not.
I think, you touched some interesting points there, but I think it happens for many reasons. So even how we look at love nowadays, it's different. So in the past, many years ago, you had a tribe of people. And when you meet someone, when you build a relationship, even marriage, only very recently, people started marrying someone because of love, because you fall in love with someone. In the past, you would marry someone because you got a land somewhere close to in the same village, or other reasons like that. And now it's all based on love. Another thing, now we want so much from that partner. A woman, she's looking for a man, and she wants that man to be her therapist, her cook, her stylist, a person she goes to the theater, someone that tells that she looks beautiful in that dress, someone that notices her haircut, someone, that is intellectual, someone that can, satisfy her in bed. So all these things. In the past, communities were closer. So you had a bigger community that can satisfy and meet your certain needs. Another problem that I see a lot also, men feel that they have to filter everything. So with the whole, Me Too movement, feminists and everything like that, I find, that men are very confused. Even things like, oh, do I pay for her dinner? Do I not pay for her dinner? Is she going to think, that she can't afford this? Like all these things. And I think if we are making it so complicated when it's simple. It's common sense, as you said.
Mm-hmm. I think that's interesting that you say that. To hear a woman on the side of men and say that part of the problem is that we need to filter everything for potential upset or offence, because I was single 2 years ago. Previous to that, I had been in a long-term relationship of 10 years. So the dating scene had changed ridiculous amounts when I found myself in that being single. And I found that I definitely changed the way that I spoke to people during that time. I found myself in situations with women where I was offending them, which was really it was so confusing, like you said. But a simple adjustment of behaviour, and I think about what I say, and well, I would ask why would they be offended? And I've got to say that I feel that the change that I've made, even it being really, really small, has been for the positive, rather than it being confusing. Or I was confused at first, but I just reflected on what was said and the offence that was communicated, and then just adjust my behaviour. It's no big deal to me. Why do you think that it's such a big thing? This idea of changing, like progressing. We see it even politically in everyday life, where people are saying like they're no welcome, like immigrants, and scared of change. That is all that is to me. Why are we seeing this, and predominantly in men, this sort of resistance to like progress?
I think it's because in a lot of those cases, men are left out of that conversation. And I understand, like it's all about equal rights and things like that. But in a lot of those conversations, men are left out. And I think that nowadays it's not easy to be a male because you're getting so confused. You are being told, this modern masculinity, it has changed. Now suddenly it's okay for you to be vulnerable. You have to show your sensitive side. You have to be this way, and it's okay for a man to cry when you were brought up in a way where you were told, don't be a girl, don't cry, and now you suddenly have to. There's this book that I would like to recommend to your listeners. I don't know, do you know Lewis House? He has this really cool podcast, The School of Greatness.
No, but I'll definitely check it out. Like, you'll need to hit us up with links.
He has amazing guests. Lewis House, The School of Greatness, and he's written this book called The Mask of Masculinity, and he talks about 9 masks that men wear to hide their vulnerability.
Yeah.
So let's say an athlete mask, a stoic mask, a materialistic mask, all-know mask, all these different masks that you, as growing up, you started wearing to pretend to be someone that you are not, to be this tough guy, this I can do everything, this alpha guy, because you thought that this is what a man should be. So I think it's not easy, because now suddenly you are being told, to get rid of those masks and to try to understand what women are thinking. And before it was all like very different, and now you are told that men and women are all the same. And when you are growing up, you thought that men and women are definitely not the same. So I think it's very important that we talk about those things. And I know there are a lot of women that are angry. And when you start talking to them about those things, they're not able to come from a place of, I actually want to listen and I want to help you to understand. They come from the place of anger and judgment.
Yeah.
So I think we should all help each other.
Definitely. One of the parts of the book that really resonated with me was your actual section on masculinity. Reading about the various masks, I think I recognised having wore them probably all at one point or another. And I think, as you were saying, getting rid of those masks is quite a challenging thing. But the conversation that you say men are not included in, I don't know that necessarily they should be included in all of them when you talk about some of these subjects, because I think there's that entitlement alongside it that you were talking about, where, women used to be essentially traded for swathes of land, and I think there's an entitlement that has always been there with some men, and I think maybe some of the reaction that we're talking about, where people are feeling disconnected or whatever, as a result of losing what they feel is their entitlement. Is that something that you could resonate with?
Oh, you mean that the rules have changed, so that's why men feel confused? Because in the past... I think, that's also, I see this, so I know this is like a very, a different jump, probably you not thought I would go that way, but let's say, as an example, in porn, right?
Okay.
if your first interaction with sex when you are a teenager is watching porn, which is for most men is, because you get to know a woman's body very often by watching porn.
Okay.
So you get this sort of image, that when I have sex with a woman, she's going to be like that.
Yeah.
So porn gives you this entitlement that you are entitled to treat a woman in a way it is shown when you watch porn videos. And then when you have sex the first time, especially if you have sex with someone that has no clue what she's doing, it can go really wrong. And then you're like, okay, what is happening here? Like, that's not what I expected. So it's that also thing, it's in so many different areas of our lives. So yeah.
So unrealistic expectations then.
Well, that feeds back into social media and the projected life and the sort of Disney life that you see, the sort of the best bits. It just gives you this unrealistic expectation of what life is actually like. And I think that's interesting that you say that that porn gives a sense of entitlement to men. I've never really thought about that.
I think I could understand that a certain type of man would believe he's entitled to whatever subgenre he's clicked on. I don't know, I wouldn't say it's necessarily legitimate, but,
And so do you think that because it was one of the questions that I was going to ask, is where does this sense of entitlement come from especially when it comes to sex, that there are certain men that feel that they're entitled to sex, and if they approach a woman and the woman rejects them, that they almost get angry. It's like their reaction's anger rather than what you should do and just move on.
Self-reflection.
Yeah, either reflect it or just move on. And do you think that porn's got a part to play in that?
I don't know. I think for anyone, rejection is not an easy thing to accept, and it hurts. So I think it's you as an adult, you have to teach yourself how to deal with that. Now, some people deal with that easier, others are, not so good at dealing with that. It's like at work. For some people, they apply for a position and they get rejected and they're like, yeah, it's not a big deal. I'm just going to try the next time. For someone else, it might be, oh, I got rejected. That means I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm stupid. I might as well just quit this job because I don't know what I'm doing. So it's just this thing, it all comes to your childhood very often, as much as our parents want to do the best job they want to do they really try hard, but they were messed up in their childhoods as well. And there are a lot of things that we're dealing with, and that comes, I think, because when I work with my clients and when I start asking questions, someone that is really struggling with rejection, let's say a man, is someone who maybe wasn't loved that much by his mom or by his dad or was mistreated by some relatives or something like that. So you have to, think and try to tap into that to see, like, I wonder, what could that mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's with rejection, when I see, let's say, if a man is approaching a woman and if she's rejecting you, now it depends how she's rejecting you. If she's being mean and rude, you have to be grateful because thanks God you're not wasting any time interacting with a woman like that.
Yeah.
If she's a nice person and she doesn't like you, she's going to say that in a nice way. And it's not going to, make you feel like you're worthless or things like that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm not answering your question. What was your question? I'm really bad like that. Sometimes people ask me stuff.
The question was
and
just...
I answered different
That's all right.
things.
The question was really just around, like, the sort of sense of entitlement that men have, and you had said that porn sort of feeds that. And I'd never really thought about it that way, that porn gives men a sense of entitlement to sex. If we have constant supply of that type of stimulation, that for some reason
it becomes an expectation.
That's it's an interesting sort of point, and was just
So touching
really
on, you were talking about when you work with your clients. So is it exclusively in the kind of relationship area that you're working? Is there other areas that sort of branch off that you work with people? Is it something that you can talk about?
So, because of my book and because of the things that I post mostly on my social media, men and women contact me because, let's say, they can't find a partner or they had their heart broken or things like that. But once I start working with them, it usually has to do with their self-worth, their confidence, and that's usually stopping them in other areas of their life, because that's the root of all the evil. So yeah, that's usually what work is about. Also, I work a lot with men that struggle with porn addiction.
Okay.
It's a very big thing. I could share some stories. I had a guy that had to contact his broadband provider and ask to block those sites for him, the access to those sites, because he got into such a stage that he started stopping going to work. He started calling in sick because it got so out of control that he couldn't control himself. So yeah, he stopped even going to work because he was spending that much time watching porn.
Well, I've got my own experience with that myself. I suffered. I said in episode 1 that I had suffered from porn addiction. I'm not, after reflecting on saying that, I'm not quite sure how addicted I was to porn, because the second that it started to impede on real life, I gave it up straight away. So I don't know how much an addiction it was, rather than just like unwittingly feeling that my use of porn was normal when it definitely wasn't normal. But as soon as I realised that, as soon as I woke up to the fact that I was overusing porn, I gave it up straight away. So I'm not quite sure how addicted.
So you see, again, like you had that ability to see, like, okay, something is not right there.
Well, it took for actual physical symptoms before I realised. And one Google search, and then it was straight away, how much porn are you watching? And then straight away I gave it up. So I mean, the thing that worries me about the situation that I was in is how many other men are in that same situation that are using porn 2 or 3 times a day and feel that that's the norm, because porn's been really normalised.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, men talk about it openly. Girlfriends of men talk about it openly, that it's the expectation that men watch porn. And I felt that I was normal until, like I said, I got a physical symptom, and then as soon as I realised, I gave it up. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not quite sure how addicted I was, but I was definitely an overuser, that's for sure. What kind of things do you hear from men that are addicted to porn?
So with porn, I see the biggest problem is this, that when you're watching too much of it, it's the shame. So you feel very ashamed and you feel bad about yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's, the thing, because that's not good for your self-esteem. And then I was working with this guy, and he said, when I used to watch a lot of porn, I could see that women look at me in a different way, because I could feel like, they can feel that I'm watching so much porn. Of course they can't. It's all in your head. Mm-hmm. And then he said, when I stopped watching that much porn, I could see, women are interacting with me in a different way, and people are interacting with me in a different way. So it's like all this, it's like an obsession, because you all make up this in your head. But I've noticed, and I saw this, I don't know, I think I messaged you saying how I was doing a live about porn. So I work sometimes, because I can also speak Lithuanian, so sometimes I work in courts translating. So I was working on this murder case, and there was this guy, and he was one of the interpreters. Now, I could see, from the very first day that I was working with him, that he was always very restless, and that he would look at every single woman that would pass by, but he would look at every single woman in this very hungry kind of way. So boobs, ass, and his eyes would just be like crazy, like I'm like, whoa, and then I could see how he would make all these comments, let's say I was eating a banana, and he was like, oh, you're holding this banana, you really know what you're doing, and the way you're eating this banana. And he was making, these sexual comments, and I was listening to him and thinking, man, you're so lucky that you're not talking with the wrong girl, because you could get a disciplinary for this. It's a big deal. And he's so clueless because he's feeding his mind with all these images all the time. So that's all he sees around.
Mm-hmm. And I can relate to... It's
really hard for him.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think that's one of the things that that I noticed. I noticed a lot of the things that the effects of porn on myself after I gave it up.
Okay.
So while I was watching porn a lot, I didn't pay any notice to a lot of it. I think it had been there for such a long time that it was just normal. But when I gave it up, I noticed, like exactly like you're saying, basically I was a pervert. I couldn't let... It was almost like I couldn't let a woman walk past me without me checking her out.
Right.
And I would get these sorts of, oh, I bet she's like this, and she'll look, and
yeah.
And
it had nothing to do with her. It was all going
it's
in your
all
head.
in my head, and obviously, I've done a fair bit of reading on porn addiction, and one of the things that men say in the NoFap community, and the NoFap community, if people don't know, is a community of people that have given up sort of masturbation completely. No porn, no masturbation, 30, 60, 90 days. It's like a really basic recovery program that covers none of the psychological elements of it, but just
purely physical.
Purely the actor.
How is it called again? Tell me, please. It's a good thing for me to research.
It's NoFap, as in NoFap.
NOF?
AP.
Okay, cool.
So they're on Reddit. They've got a lot of... They're just a community of people online. And they give advice to each other, and one of the main things that they say is that when you come off porn, people can tell, and people look at you differently. And I can remember not noticing that and thinking, what's happening here? And then realising it's psychological.
Yeah.
It's completely psychological.
So you just believe that people are now looking at you differently.
Yep. And it's such a strange, it's such a strange thing that it took me a while to put the two and two together, that it was the porn use that was making me want to look at people, was making me sort of visualise these women in certain ways, and it actually took a good few weeks for me to...
I think it kind of ties in with what you were saying about that shame that has driven some of our clients to then seek out our help.
Mm-hmm. And so, what do you recommend to these men? I mean, I went through my own recovery that was self-researched and self-implemented, and I made mistakes here and there, and there's so much bad advice that I think that we need more good advice, and I'm interested to hear what you recommend to people that are addicted to porn.
So the first thing that I would recommend, and I had, I don't know if you saw, I shared on my Instagram, I had a picture with me with the ice cream, and then the next one it was swap, just to get people's attention, because I know people press on that sort of stuff, it's like marketing stuff. And then the next one was, did you swipe that? It was someone messaging me saying how he was getting on with marking in a calendar how many hours every day he spends watching porn.
Yeah.
So I always think, that 1% forward towards something is better than nothing. So let's say I know there are men that, and there might be someone that is listening to this person might be spending 4 hours every single day watching porn. that sounds, quite excessive.
Yeah,
But
just
that,
a bit.
Yeah, but the people do that. So if instead of 4 hours every single day, if for the first week that person could reduce maybe to 3 hours, then the next week to 2 hours, then the week after to 1 hour, because it's the same like with smoking. If you smoking 1 pack of cigarettes every single day, to quit that completely, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But if you could say, you can still have 2 cigarettes, then that sounds, okay, maybe I could do that. So I would say small steps, and it's very important that you record that. So take like a simple calendar and just mark the hours, how many hours you spend watching, so you could see your progress. When you can see your progress, you get that reward in your brain, so that gives that kind of, okay, I can do this, and I can see the progress. And then also, I would say express the gratitude for that, that I'm proud of myself, that I'm able to reduce this. So at the end of every week, just take like 5 minutes and think about that. Like, how is that making you feel that you managed to reduce those hours? I think if some of your listeners, if they can follow that, I think it's a very simple thing that they can start doing, but I know it really works.
Yeah, for sure. Do you recommend anything along the 12-step spiritual? Do you recommend like reconciliation or anything that's recommended in the sort of 12-step program, or the various 12-step programs that are out there? Or do you just recommend that they start to cut down the porn?
I would recommend meditation to every single person on this planet. I think it can fix anything.
Yeah, for sure. I think if I was to pick one thing that helped me the most in my recovery, it is for sure meditation.
Yeah.
100%. And I practice every day, and I'm the exact same. I recommend it to anybody. I almost feel strange sometimes recommending meditation to people.
You get a bit of a look. I also have practiced meditation, not on a daily basis, but I'm familiar with it, and it is something that I talk to friends about when it comes to their own sort of mental health and stuff like that. And I think when you initially raise meditation, it does raise some eyebrows. I think people still have a real like image of it being, something that went on in the 60s on acid, when mindfulness is a totally different thing.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but I think anyone that's ever, read a self-development book, at least one in their lives, they know that meditation is the answer. I don't do it as much as I should, but I know if I started doing meditation, I would be smashing it in all areas of my life.
Then you should just do it then. Why not? So, you posted something quite interesting, and I'd sent it on to Matt as a good example of how men interact with women online. There's a lot. I think it's shifting from even from like the dating app, and now it's in the DMs. So people are just DMing women, and this is something that is completely and utterly alien to me, and I don't understand it. But the phenomenon that is the dick pic, why do men feel that it's okay to act like that online? We've got this whole sort of internet behaviour versus real life. Would you do it in real life? No. Yeah. Don't do it on the internet. But why?
No, I think there's nothing wrong with sliding a nice DM to someone.
Well, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with going in and interacting with somebody.
No.
But I think that if you're sending unsolicited pictures of parts of your body, I think it's crossing a line. I mean, you wouldn't do it in the street. You wouldn't walk up to a woman in the street and just take your dick out.
No.
So why?
I certainly wouldn't. I don't know about you.
Why do men do it online? Like, what? Where does this come from? I don't understand that.
No, they want to show themselves. They want to express their love, and it's just how it is.
Are you an advocate?
And no, I just understand this. I understand this. And I had this conversation. So when I started doing what I do, with all like relationships and working with men, I remember I would get these messages on Facebook and I would cry. I would cry. I would be like, what was I thinking? What am I going to do with this? I would get one dick pic after another. One dick pic after another. I'm like, I can't deal with this. And it made me so upset. Then one day I was like, so this guy, he's like, hi. And then I was, hi. And then he sent me this picture of his penis. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And the next thing he did, it was a video of him masturbating. Oof. So my first instinct when this happens is like, block this person, and always just block. I don't even waste my time, But this time I was like, okay, let's try to understand this person. Like, where does this need come from? So I asked him, why did you feel to send this to me? Like, why? Well, like, I was nice, just ask him nicely, not like, why you're such an idiot. He's like, oh, because you are hot. So I was then, okay, so this is what you usually do, if you see someone that you're attracted to? And he said, yes. And then I was like, well, does it work? Sometimes, and he said, well, sometimes I meet women and we have sex. So, I don't know.
So it's what for this guy?
Yeah, well, fair enough. I suppose it's like when you were talking about approaching women in the book.
That's not something I'm suggesting. I do not suggest it.
Don't send videos of yourself masturbating over the internet to women.
It's the law averages success rate, The more you approach, the more likely that somebody will reciprocate.
Well, that's it. I suppose if he's firing out these videos to a lot of women, then he's obviously it's working for him. I just find it really strange. Like, I've never seen the internet as anything other than a reflection of my real life. I don't use social media that often, but I would never dream. No. I mean, I've obviously, like, we're all adults, and people send pictures to each other when it's like,
like your WhatsApp, it's private, it's you and them.
Yeah, it's just sometimes when I'm watching Facebook Live, and particularly in the field that you're in the sort of helping field, try to help men, and sometimes some of the comments that come up on the Facebook Lives, you're just thinking, like, what is going on? Does this guy know that everybody can see that what he's sending to this person on the internet?
Oh, so you're actually getting...
You're on Facebook Live watching somebody speak, and people can send comments, and obviously...
I know Facebook Live, I'm just...
And they're sending some vile stuff, like...
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Some... Have you had much experience of that yourself? It just seems so strange to me. I don't get it. Like, I think that what you said earlier is probably quite... Oh, sorry.
I sometimes share my videos on these dating groups on Facebook. And I'm not trying, to be racist or anything, but if you saw some of the comments that these Indian men sent, oh my God.
Yeah, I refrained from saying anything, but they're predominantly Indian guys, and
send Bob's and Virgin.
It's such a strange thing, and also like the field that like the sort of, there's a lot of people that are doing sort of like sexual healing stuff on the internet, like Erica, Briones, and they attract these people as well. It's like, because sex has been spoken about openly in these Facebook groups or over Instagram, it attracts a certain type of person. Okay. So almost like
would that not
powerful
be
men.
These people's target audience? Is that people who are incapable of actually interacting with women in a meaningful way? Surely you want them on those feeds so that you can be like, here, buy my book.
So it's it's about like how you it's about your boundaries, because a lot of men think that if you talk about sex, that means you're just going to have sex with them.
Yeah.
So they get confused with that also, but also, they open up more easily. So I had a video about, I did that with someone, there was this guy, he was like a sexual healer, and he's a sex guru, and he was talking about the porn addiction and things like that, and we were asking openly, for people to share if they ever struggled with that, and we were surprised how many men actually shared in the comments, like, that they struggled with this problem, that they've been through that, and they were coming from a place of, I want to help someone else by sharing this. And then they were sending messages me, they were sending messages to this person that I was doing it. And also, when I'm on the call with someone, I get people in the first 20 minutes of the call, they would tell me the biggest secrets, and the really like sexual secrets, and then so I think they feel like because of what I do, they can open up because they won't be judged.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's almost like a new way of sort of seeking out therapy. It's interesting because I think that, especially in the UK, mental health, it's obviously still stigmatised, but it's very much underfunded, and there's got to be a space for this kind of online,
for people to reach out and get help that will actually relate to them.
Yeah, like 24/7. Surely there's got to be an opportunity there. I know that they've got it in America. That in America there's a lot of there's one big player in the industry, but it's basically a group of therapists specific, and you go on and you contact them, you pay a rate, and you Skype call them. So I think there's definitely, I think that guys like yourself and Erica and the people that we're speaking about, you are pioneers, really, like a sort of a new way of doing, a new way of sort of healing and helping people with mental health. Where do you see it going somewhere like that? Like, do you think that we'll move online to therapy, or do you think that we'll still crave the sort of one-to-one intimacy?
So I think when it comes to therapy, the biggest difference between a therapist and the coach is that a therapist listens, and they ask questions, but they would not give you a step-by-step action plan, what you have to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
coach is more hands-on, and a coach is gonna tell you, okay, you have to do this, and let's crack on with that.
Okay.
And when you're working with a coach, you can see, the progress in a few weeks. And when it comes to therapy, they say sometimes it takes years to see those results. So it's a completely different approach.
Yeah, that's interesting as well. Like, it's more coaching than therapy.
Yeah, therapy is about you making the leap because you've talked it out with somebody else, whereas the coaching is, I think I could relate to that. I mean, having an experience of therapy, there is definitely times that I would have personally progressed a lot quicker had somebody taken the time to say, so here's some steps that you might want to think about taking to then build on whatever realisation you've just had.
I mean, I've worked with Erica, and I've done some courses with Erica, and I've definitely found a lot of benefit in a more coaching scenario rather than a therapy scenario. I feel that, like, I want to fix things now, and I want solutions to the problems, and I'm definitely more into the sort of coaching aspect than I'm into the therapy aspect. So, see the one of the bits of the book that really came screaming out to me is this idea of like comfort, and basically the book is about getting people out of their comfort zones. And I was just wondering, like, what's your opinion on like too much comfort and too much like affirmation of like how you are as an individual, and again going back to the sort of incel sort of, if these people can communicate online and can speak to each other and basically just surround themselves in an echo chamber of people that feel the same way that they do, you're never going to get out your comfort zone. And what do you think about that? Do you think that that's a problem?
So I think the biggest problem with us human beings is that, we do things out of habit. And I know myself, I do certain things, and I've been doing certain things maybe for the last 5 or 10 years. Now, if I want to get different results, I need to start doing something drastically. So very often, what happens, you see people, let's say, having a cancer or having some sort of life-threatening experience, and that shakes them. And then they are like, okay, I'm going to completely change my life and I'm going to start doing these things. But if this doesn't happen to you, then you just continue living your life, and next thing you know, it's like 20 years pass by and you're still in the same place. So I think it's very good, for everyone, how when it's like New Year's resolution and you're like, oh, I'm going to start doing this and this and this, but you never do that. So it's good to sit down and just look at your life, thinking about your relationships, about your career, about your health, about your progress, about how you want to be learning things, and see, am I at the place that I want to be? And if you answer, I'm not, what is one thing that I can start doing maybe this week to change that? Now, in order to change that, you need to get out of your surroundings, and you need to surround yourself with people that are different from what it was in the past. Because unless do something differently, nothing will change. So, yeah, that's what I think. That's why I think we get stuck.
Do you think that
in that comfort zone?
Yeah, in the comfort zone. But do you think that some of the information that comes out about how we're pushed certain ways on social media, that the sort of Cambridge Analytica stuff where they just pigeonhole you, do you feel that could be a problem? So for instance, for this for research for doing a podcast, I've watched 1 or 2 incel videos on YouTube. Okay. My YouTube channel is just constant pushing of this idea.
Yeah.
And I've never had anything pushed on me so much than this idea of involuntary celibacy on YouTube. It's crazy. I'm noticing it. So do you think that the hamstringing of people, the pigeonholing of people online, we're just going to see more and more of this type of thing where...
So because they're forced into communities with like-minded people, it's harder and harder for people to get out of that comfort zone that you're talking about?
I don't know. I think it's like with everything that you get pushed on yourself, it's all the information that you see out there, it's up to you what you want to do with that. Mm-hmm. And how you want to process that, whether you want to follow this or not. And especially when your phones are listened to, maybe now we mention certain things and I've never heard about that. I'm sure next thing I'll go on my Facebook, I'll find something about that community that you mentioned.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how crazy it is. And then when you see those things constantly, you get attracted. So you start checking and you get absorbing all this, and you start thinking, oh, this is what everyone is doing and this is what I should be doing. So I think in this age and time, it's more than ever important to be as selective as you can, because we get bombarded with so much information, and we are getting all this thrown into our faces. So it's very, very important to be selective.
Yeah.
And to see what works for you. And in order to know that, you have to dig deep to get that level of self-awareness so you could understand yourself.
Yeah. The worrying aspect for me will be when we're faced with the people that have grown up from birth with Facebook. And they've got no idea of what life is without being pigeonholed online. And so how do they make that choice? Like, how do they be selective? it's just like it's really it worries me, that one.
It's
like
something we're being taught, I think, to forget how to do, is to be analytical and to be able to differentiate even between truth and lies, to where we are at the moment, you know what I mean? So I don't know how kids who have grown up in these respective bubbles will know how to push back against it and get out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, I think that my opinion is that you need to work on yourself and you need to keep yourself in check and just make sure that. And if everybody did that, we would be all right. We would be fine.
Would be
If everybody just focused on themselves and made themselves a better person, continued to learn, continued to grow, self-awareness, like these are all things that I've learned a lot about in the last 2 years since I gave up porn. I think that that really just put a cloud over like my self-awareness and really affected me in that way. So yeah, it's interesting like how do people find the not comfort zone. It's a worrying aspect for me. And yeah, so just we're like about 50 minutes in, so it's flying past. We're just chatting away. I'm interested a wee bit in how you see Brexit.
Oh, interesting. You're asking me because I'm from Lithuania.
Yeah, because you're and
probably a voice that people in the UK don't hear a lot from, because it's all been about that white middle English man who feels forgotten that we talked about at the start of the episode. So this is something that affects the lives of all citizens in the UK, and I don't think people who have migrated here have been heard enough of.
So, I come from Lithuania and I can live here freely. I don't need a visa, nothing like that. For me, Brexit means nothing, but few examples. My sister, she works at the restaurant, and she said that when, was it in May, that they voted to leave the EU, yeah?
Yeah,
around that time. She said that the next day when, they found out that this is the outcome, she got more tips because the customers, they were like, oh, we feel sorry for you because you will need to leave the country soon, so we're going to give you more tips.
Wow.
That is the nicest racism I've ever heard in my life.
Profiting for racism.
I've heard also, I used to work at the office with a girl, and she was a Muslim, and she covered herself, and she said that after this also she felt unsafe more than ever, which is very interesting because, she was born in here, her parents are from Pakistan. It has nothing to do with Brexit, but because people are not educated, they don't know. Now, my personal position is that, as arrogant as this might sound, but I know that this country needs me more than I need them. And that I can move to another country tomorrow and I will be fine. However, when all the people working in Tesco, all the people picking strawberries, all the people, working at the hospitals decide to leave this country because of Brexit, that's going to be a big problem. So
Yeah, for sure. I think that the point on like the girl that's clearly a British girl but comes from Pakistani heritage, Brexit for me has given like confirmation to some people that their racism's valid.
Yeah.
That everybody not everybody, but the majority of people that live in the UK feel the same as what they do. Because I'm not necessarily pro-European Union, but I'm definitely not pro-Brexit. The reason that I was definitely not pro-Brexit was because it was built. I could see that it was built on lies, but I felt that it was a racist vote, and that if you've got valid reasons to vote for something, but there's a racist undertone, you should just completely just
Stick
back
to the
away from it.
facts.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't think that the European Union's necessarily like what it's made out to be, but I think that the lies that were told to the British people and the racist undertone that went with Brexit was absolutely disgusting. So,
Stoked a horrible experience for a lot of people who have lived their entire lives here.
but I'm delighted to hear that people were giving out more tips, because at least, you know what I mean, like, at least if there's some European nationals that live in the UK, I'm sure that they didn't feel particularly great about the vote, and it would be good for them to get a wee bit of extra money out of people.
I don't know. For me, what's the worst part? I'm not that bothered about that stuff. I mean, I've not been through that many racist stuff. I think, okay, one of the most painful experience was this. So I've been in the UK for 7 years now. And I remember when I moved in, I didn't have a job. I didn't know anyone. So I really had to start from like nothing. Mm-hmm. But I was very eager. I got a job after 3 weeks coming to this country. 3 weeks. So, when they say there are no jobs, I think there are jobs. You're just not willing to do those jobs.
100%.
Anyway, so I got this job, and it was like a part-time job. And then I got a full-time job working at this retail store. Now, it was my first day. I'm all eager and energetic. And this lady came into the store, and I'm like, hi, how are you? How can I help? And she looked at me with this angry look at her face, and she started saying, so I'm going to swear now, if there are children around, people should...
No, don't worry about that.
No, we're good.
Whatever. And she said, you fucking Polish bitch. You come here stealing our jobs, stealing our husbands. And then she left the store.
Wow.
Clearly a Polish woman stole her husband.
So I was like standing there, the manager was standing next to me, and he's like, are you all right? I'm just like, I'm not sure what happened here. So yeah, these things happen. But for me, the most painful thing is that when I go to Spain on holiday, my pound is worth nothing. That's for me the most painful thing.
Fuck, yeah. Gone on holidays, not fucking
It's not. You don't feel rich anymore.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to get. I don't think it's going to get any easier either. I don't see this. No. I don't see this going well. I think either way, if somehow they don't do it or whatever happens, I think we're in for a shit time.
Yeah.
I think if we're going to need to go back with our cap in our hand, we're probably going to need to take the euro or something like that. But anyway, do you want to just tell the listeners or anybody that's listening how to get to you? Because if there's anybody out there that is struggling with porn addiction especially, I'm going to put a couple of links down in the description, like some resource that I found helpful. But do you want to just tell everybody like where they can find you?
Yes, so they can find me on Instagram, if you could share the link. Or also they can find me on my book site, which is very easy to remember. And it is getlaidnowbook.com.
All right.
You can connect with me on Facebook. That's with my name. Maybe you will share that. And that's the Ieva Kambarovaite. I'm not gonna spell that. Also, I'd love to give a gift to your listeners. So 2 of the listeners, I don't know what will be the rules, but for 2 of your listeners, I would like to give a coaching session of 20 minutes with me, absolutely free of charge.
Excellent.
That's class.
Over the phone, and I can solve one problem that they have, and you can give that to 2 people. I don't know what other rules do they need to like or share or something. You can think of that, but I'd like to.
Well, what I would just say is that if there's anybody out there that's interested in that, they can get us at rebelcitypodcast@gmail.com, or you can comment on the YouTube video. Get in touch with us. We're all over Twitter at Rebel City Pod, and we'll sort something out for you. But thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, that's been great. Really appreciate it.
It's been a really nice chat. I think
really good questions. I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
No problems at all. And like I said, I enjoyed the book. It was interesting. It was engaging. There was action plans. Yeah, I thought it was great. So thanks very much, and thanks very much for the wee offer that you've gave us for our listeners, and that's us.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problems.
Bye.